Hey there, BookTube. It is your best friend and most trusted confidant, Buck, back on the scene for additional Buck's books. I know it's been a second, and I can't keep apologizing. I just got stuff to do. But the problem with having stuff to do is that I got such a backlog of books that I finished reading, and I remember being really excited about them when I finished reading them. And I was like, oh, I can't wait to review them. And then I just didn't. And then 3 weeks passed, and now I'm here, stuck here, having not reviewed any of these awesome books. And my powerful brain is sort of sieve-like as well. So these things, they drop through pretty quick. So I don't... The reason I started putting all of this stuff on Goodreads in the first place is because I didn't remember what I thought of the books because I'm getting through the books so fast. So this is still happening, and now it's happening worse because I keep putting off the Goodreads reviews so I can turn them into Buck's books and then not turning them into Buck's books. What is a boy to do? I ask you. Well, I guess we can get started. Today, I'm going to tell you about a book that at this point I read like over a month ago. I added this book to my to-read pile in August of 2024. So I finished reading it sometime between August of 2024 and right now in this moment. I imagine it was recent because I've only been doing Buck's Books as a channel for a couple of months, right? Pretty sure. So, either way, it's called The Enterprise of Death by Jesse Bullington. A quick word on Jesse Bullington. This guy, I read a series called, well, I don't remember the name of the series, but I know the first book was called A Crown for Cold Silver, and it was by a guy named Alex Marshall, and it was phenomenal. Now, I'm not going to say it's some of the best of the grimdark and high fantasy stuff I've ever read, because that title is currently held by Mark Lawrence and the Broken Empire trilogy and he just barely edged out everything Joe Abercrombie ever wrote. So it's a near thing, but ultimately it was a phenomenal series. I couldn't put it down. I banged through. They were like just eating demons all the time. There were the 5 villains. It's good. It's worth it. Everyone in it is kind of bisexual, which was an unexpected twist, but normally they shoehorn that in, and this time in that book they didn't. I thought it was phenomenal. I always said I'd read more of Alex Marshall's work, and then I never got around to it. And this one came recommended from the page on, I don't remember where I found it. I think it was another one of those recommendations from Reddit about stories like the best book I ever read. What's it called? Between Two Fires. I think it might be another Reddit recommendation about Between Two Fires. I'm not 100%. I know it sounded good, so I read it, and it's by a guy named Jesse Bullington. It's fantastic. It's a really good book, and it turned out that Jesse Bullington is the same guy as Alex Marshall. Alex Marshall was a pen name. Jesse Bullington is his real name. I don't know why he did that. Maybe he was just scared. Maybe he was scared and felt inadequate about the story he was writing when he published it, and that's why he did his pen name, and then it took off, and he was like, nice, I can be myself, and now he's publishing as himself. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Jesse Bullington. I do know that A Crown for Cold Silver and the following series was phenomenal, as was The Enterprise of Death. So, Enterprise of Death follows a few different characters. But the biggest problem is I don't remember any of their names. And that's what's going to happen when you read a book and then you don't think about it for between 1 and 7 months. That's just to be expected. But I do know it followed this African slave girl, and she winds up the sort of reluctant apprentice to just the worst necromancer in fiction. And right out the gate, we're getting hit with just like a lot of necrophilia. And it's still necrophilia even if the corpses are animate, and we have to take a stand on that front. So she is being taught how to be horrible, and she is being psychologically abused by this monster. He's really a monster. He's a fantastic villain. He's such a good antagonist. And he winds up doing some gross ritual wherein he basically explains to her that the reason she has been trained by him in the first place is he is preparing her to become his vessel. He's going to take over her body after he's finished with whatever his chores on the astral plane are. So he doesn't give her an exact date, but he starts a death clock. Someday I will return for you. There's nothing you can do about it, because he's a sadist too, of course. So after that, she was just kind of left abandoned in the necromancer's keep, and she started walking the earth, and she goes on all sorts of fun adventures, and she meets a narcissistic artist who is currently he's moonlighting as a mercenary, because the art doesn't pay super well. Mercenary work pays better, but art is what he cares about. Art is what's important to him, right? So he's in constant pursuit of that, and they become friends, and there's this gargantuan madam. She runs a whorehouse, or she goes on to run a whorehouse, and she is colossal. She's like 7 feet tall, and I think Swedish or something like that. And she has guns. Nobody else really has guns. Guns are hard to come by in this world. They're specialty items, and she has them, and she loves them, and she loves fighting. And they just kind of wander through this grimdark crapsack world and try to make their fortunes and try to build their lives and get addicted to various substances and have these little infights and meet up with other hucksters. There's a doctor of some kind. He's a quack. He's great. The doctor is great. I really liked what they did with the hyena demon in the graveyard. I don't want to ruin it, honestly. I want you to read it, because I don't want to do disservice to the hyena demon. But I had never heard of whatever he was describing. Whatever took place in the graveyard, the giant canid that ate the dead, preferred to eat the living, and could adopt their voices. I'm sure it existed in folklore. I had never come across it in folklore. So that whole description, that whole experience was new to me, and was really good to that end. The book is ultimately a meditation on mortality, which is to be expected by the title, The Enterprise of Death, but also about fate and its design and its adjustment. It's determinism versus fatalism, because she knows she's going to die. And she knows it's going to be worse than death when she dies, because the necromancer has clarified he's not going to let her die all the way. He's going to bring her with him as just an additional little flourish, to make her suffer and watch what he does with her body, living as her, what he makes her do. So not only is she anticipating non-being, but not even the courtesy of a full oblivion. She's anticipating hell, an eternity of suffering, of torment, and it's encroaching. It's coming toward her, and there's nothing she can do to avoid it, and she knows that. So in the book, she just keeps pivoting between the acceptance of that, the resignment to her fate, and the insistence that she's going to rally against it and change it, that she is going to be the architect of her own fate. And we all experience that every single day. Maybe not every day, maybe if you're not one of them thinkers, but those of us capable of self-reflection, we run across that pretty often. Free will versus determinism, what is it? William James, my man. William James solved this with pragmatism. William James, father of psychology, grandfather of psychology, philosopher. His little dweeb-ass friends asked him, William James, where do you stand on the hot button issue of our day, which is free will versus determinism? Which one is real? And William James said, I don't care. And they said, what do you mean? And he said, it doesn't matter. And that was pragmatism. That was how pragmatism hit the scene. He said, one way or another, it doesn't make any difference whether I believe in free will or not, because if I do believe in free will, Great, then my actions are defining what's going on. And if I don't believe in free will, then nothing I do matters, but I'm still going to continue to believe I have agency and conduct myself the same way. So I'm going to go ahead and believe in free will. That's the pragmatic solution. Because all it is, it just makes me feel better. It doesn't change anything about reality as it stands. Things would work the same way. I just feel better about it. Kind of like Pascal's wager, really. And they were like, damn, William James, I can't believe you invented pragmatism. And that was just the tip of the iceberg. He just kept going. The Enterprise of Death was about that struggle. Was about the pragmatics of grappling with and accepting your own mortality and deciding what to do with the time you have left. It's a microcosm. It was really good. Really satisfying at the end, too. Not going to ruin it for you. But, like, it was also crushing, is the thing. Like, when you go, she made friends with all these dead people. You know, she kept bringing them back and sometimes exploiting them and always feeling bad about exploiting them. Bringing them back and then having to let them go again, which is, I mean, the right thing to do. So she's trying to be this ethical necromancer, sort of, but she just doesn't have the context for it. She doesn't have the breadth of experience necessary to really manage necromantic ethics. So she's stumbling from one encounter to another and just unleashing all of this magic into the world and then trying to rein it back in and clean up after herself, clean up her own mistakes. And once again, as do we all. It was such a good book. I highly recommend The Enterprise of Death. As highly as I recommend A Crown for Cold Silver. He's a good writer. I'm going to read the rest of his stuff eventually. I still got so much of the list. I had like 60 on the list, and I banged through like 15. I got 15 waiting in the wings that I got to review here. But baby steps. All right. That's enough for right now. Like, follow, subscribe, share, comment. Do all sorts of stuff. I will see you very shortly.